Why do most people seem to have the perfect life and still wake up one day and ask, is this all there is? Have you ever been at that place where you felt that there's more to life? That's the question, and in this podcast, you're going to find the answer. My name is Hafiz, and welcome to the Yin Yang of Life. Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of the Yin Yang of Life. I am so excited and pumped up to be here. And my name is Hafiz, right? That's how excited I am. I have had this idea 2 months ago. And I had this plan, this project that I really wanted to work on. And I've been working on, making this project a reality. And here it goes. Here is the first day that it goes live. The very first podcast episode. And, you might be thinking, the question that all of you guys might have right now is, what actually is the yin yang of life? What is this very thing that you call about the yin yang of life, right? The Chinese symbol yin and yang, how does that relate to my life? How does that relate to everybody's life? So I'm here just to clear that question in today's episode. There was a time in my life when I was an achiever. You know achievers? Achievers are stressors. But I didn't know that at that time. I was an achiever. I was like, ready, fire, aim. That was the story of my life. I was all about taking action. I was all about making plans, making perfect plans, and taking action on them. I was the guy who was in the hustle culture, right? I was the guy who was working hard and doing all of those things that Gary Vee tells you to do. Nothing wrong with them, by the way. But Gary Vee tells you to work hard, hustle, and, basically work your ass off. That's what every great entrepreneur, not everyone, but most of the great entrepreneurs, that's the tip that they'll give you. Work hard, work your ass off. So that was what I was following. I was taking massive action, right? Massive action on just this one area of my life, which is my business, right? I wanted to make my business flourish. I wanted to just make my first $1 online. That was my goal, right? That's what I was perfecting. I was taking I was working 5 to 6 hours a day on my business. But here's the problem. While I was working towards my business, I didn't feel fulfilled in life. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel that joy that I used to feel. It felt like a job that I started to do. And what happened after 2 months is I started to hate my schedule. I started to hate my routine, the very, to-do list that I made for myself. I started to hate all of it, and eventually I gave it up, and then I was not working on any of those things. And your question might be, why did you do that? Because there was this inner feeling that was like, this is not worth it. There was that inner feeling which was always telling me that, hey, this is not worth it. Hey, life is about something more. Life is not just about hard work. Life is not just about working your ass off. Life is not just about, working a 9-to-5 job. It's not just about that. There is something more to life. And I started wondering. And I was like, what can be more to life? And I had this mentor, really great mentor, big teeth, right? Tony Robbins. I have been privileged enough to learn from Tony Robbins, and one of the greatest lessons that I think I learned very early on in my life is that happiness is an inside thing. Happiness is something that comes from the within. It is something that is practiced. And one of the quotes that Tony says, and I'm really inspired by it, is that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. That's what I think these people are doing. They're working hard to make their business. They're working hard to flourish. But then they get there and they ask themselves, is this all there is? Do you know someone like that? Or are you like that? I have been like that in my life, and it's completely okay. So that is my story. But I got to another place in life a few months afterwards. I got to a place where I discovered this thing called spirituality, and I was not a spiritual guy. I was like, I am not spiritual. I am not any of those things because I gotta take action. I gotta build businesses. How can I be spiritual? Going to a cave and meditate for 6 hours a day? I cannot do that. I'm not a hermit. I want to actually build businesses. But I took my first course of spirituality, and I'm glad that I did, by the way. That is the only course that I took 2 times. And the title of that course was Living from a Place of Surrender. Can you believe that? Living from a place of surrender. What's the name? It just yucked me out. Like, living from a place of surrender. I was not even going to take that course. But what made me take that course was, there was the guy who made the course, Michael Singer, and there was Tony Robbins. and Tony Robbins was interviewing Michael Singer, and I was like, huh? Something is going wrong. Tony Robbins, he's an achiever, right? He achieves all of these things. He does all of these great things. Like, I mean, the man is extremely successful and he's interviewing a spiritual person. Something must be wrong. So I got curious and I got into that course. And on the other side, I was a completely different person. I discovered happiness. I discovered living happily fulfilled. But however, there was one mistake that I still made. And that mistake costed me a lot. I thought about, if you want to have happiness, you must not run after money, you must not work, and you must not do any of those things. You must just completely let go of your ego, and you must just, embrace the happiness within you. That's the idea of happiness that I had built. And then what I did was, I was doing nothing. I was on my ass, doing nothing, and I didn't feel fulfilled. To be really honest, I didn't feel fulfilled even after I took a spirituality course. Even after I was doing nothing and I felt like I was doing the happiness stuff. Even then was not when I feel fulfilled. And then I got to really question, like, how can I really, crack this code of life? What about, there are these hard workers, there are these Gary Vee people who talk about hustle, work your ass off. And there are these people, spiritual people, who say, center yourself and connect with the source, connect with the happiness within you, feel it. And I was like, I go to this side, I go to this end, and I don't feel anything like that. I come to this end, and I don't feel anything like that either. What's the solution to this? So one day, I was planning a YouTube video just like this. I was planning a YouTube video, and in that YouTube video, while I was planning the YouTube video, I don't know what it was on, but when I was planning that YouTube video, some idea came into my mind, and I have this writing board in my room. I erased everything on that writing board for some reason. I don't know, just some crazy reason. I erased everything on that board, and I wrote this thing. I wrote this thing, 2 parts to a complete life. And I wrote 2 things: happiness in the now and your vision in the future. Something like that. But those are the 2 things I wrote. And I was like, what if you don't go to the Gary Vee side? I'm sorry, Gary Vee is a really great person, but what if we don't go to the hustle culture, right? Hustle, hard work. We don't go to that side, to that end of the spectrum. And I don't even go to the other end of the spectrum, which is be spiritual, be a hermit, don't do anything. And I bring these 2 sides. They're like these 2 sides, right? I bring them and I bring them together. And I just stay in the center. I stay in the center of the spectrum. That is the yin yang of life. The center of the spectrum is the yin yang of life. And what I believe, what I've found from experimenting with this idea and implementing it in my own life, I found that this is the exact way, complete way to live a fulfilled life. Where not you're promised happiness sometime in the future, or where you're not saying that I'm going to let go of all my ideas and not even work on them, but where you are doing both. It's like bringing the East and the West together, but you're not making any part wrong, right? It's like you're combining the inner abundance with the outer abundance. And what I've found from my own experience, when you do that, you have more of a chance to success. You have more of a chance to happiness. You live a balanced life. And that's when you don't just take massive undetermined action where you just work and you don't know what you're working on, but you actually take effective action where you can actually do more in less time, where you can actually achieve more in less time. That is the yin yang of life. There's 2 parts. That's why I call this the yin yang. There's the yin and the yang. The yin is the happiness in the now, and the yang is your vision for your future, your business, your career, all the visions for your future. And that is how you live a fulfilled life. And that is how you live not just a fulfilled, but a magnificent, outstanding life. That's when I discovered that, oh my God, Tony Robbins is doing the same stuff. Every successful person that I've learned from, every mentor that I've learned from, they're doing the same stuff. Even the spiritual guy. It was I who interpreted the message in the wrong way. That's what Michael Singer was talking about all throughout the course. So that is actually what I've discovered, and that is how That is what I'm going to share in the episodes to come. That is what I'm going to share. How do you sustain happiness in the now? How do you sustain the art of discipline? How do you sustain a really happy life in the now? And how do you have a vision for your future? You create a compelling vision for your future that comes from your soul, that comes from within. How do you do that? And how do you bring those two parts together? And how do you start to live a really great life from that perspective of life? So that is actually the yin yang of life. That's how I came up with this idea. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, and you subscribe to the audio version of the podcast. If you're listening to me on audio or video, doesn't matter. And you can subscribe on any listening platform. It will be available on every platform that there is. If it's not, it's gonna be very, very soon. I'm working on the distribution of the podcast. So it's going to be available on every podcast. Make sure you download the episodes, subscribe so you never miss any episodes from the Yin Yang of Life. I'm so excited to have you here, and let's continue this journey on the Yin and Yang. I'm going to see you in the next one. Till then, take care.